All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone watching from all over the world. Welcome to another interesting live stream where we have something interesting to talk about. Every news story, even when it can sound a little bit morbid, is always interesting, depending on how you look at it. We have a lot to talk about today, a lot. You can tell from the title that we are talking about the two attacks that took place in the United States in one day involving people with the name Mohammed. We are going to discuss all of that. But before we get into all the morbid stuff, welcome to the live stream. I hope you guys have. Somebody is saying no picture. Can you see my face now? Am I visible? I know I was black. It was black for a moment, but can you see me? Folake, can you hear me? I hope my audio is good. I hope you all can see me. Oh, well, proof that John can see me is the fact that he said that I look fresh. Thank you. My skincare routine is just to drink a lot of water and to trust in God. Trust in the Lord with all your might. That is my skincare routine. Okay, thank you. John can see me. That is good to see. King of Currents, thank you for always being in the chat. John number 2, can you see me? You're the one who said that the screen is blank. I hope you can see me now. All right, my audio is good. Thank you. John can see me now. That's good. You guys are welcome. Every one of you, you're all welcome to the live stream. I hope your day or your night is going well. Oh, we have someone from Texas, another person from Texas. I hope Texas is fantastic. You guys had your own terror attacks like last week. This week is Virginia and Michigan. So it's like distributed. ISIS is trying to cover every of the 50 states in the United States. Right, they are going for like a nationwide tour in the United States. That's what ISIS is trying to do, hit after hit. Some not so impressive, others also not so impressive. The good thing about ISIS is that people who operate under their name are very, very brilliant people, and they have Allah as their planner. So because Allah is the one planning the whole operation, it is going as successful as you will expect. You know, the same Allah that is planning. That is behind the plan that Hamas had on October 7, the same Allah that is behind Iran developing a nuclear weapon, the same Allah that is behind every Islamic terror organization that have been constantly facing defeat upon defeat. The same Allah is the Allah planning this operation for the jihadis we'll be discussing today. And the proof is that they all bear the name Mohammed. Well, let's not jump the gun and start discussing the news without looking at all the headlines, right? And before we do all of that, I want to, as usual, do my typical announcement, beginning by, first of all, thanking all of you. Like, I really appreciate everyone that comes to the stream to watch me. I always begin by thanking you all. You guys are the best, especially the ones who are here early before we get to, and people who have been watching before we get to 1,000, 5,000, 50,000 viewers per live stream. Before we get to those numbers, I'm grateful to every one of you, my day ones, the people who watch the stream when it's just 14 viewers, the people who watch the stream when it's just 10 viewers. I really appreciate every one of you. You guys are the best. And I want to encourage you guys to smash that like button, okay? That is one way to get more people to watch this and to, partake in this beautiful thing that we are doing, okay? So yeah, I appreciate all of you, and I encourage you guys to please smash the like button. Smash the like button. Like John is already saying in the live chat. Smash the like button. If you are not yet subscribed to the channel, there is a likelihood that you might not be. Check. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. And you can always share the link to people who are like-minded, people who will be interested in this, and you share the love. That way, love knows and love grows. That is something we say in my church, and now I'm bringing it to the live stream. Anyways, so yeah, that is that. And also, another way you can also be of huge support to the channel is by, making, donations, super chat. If you want to make your donation in a way that will be very, very effective, most of the monies will get to me, you go to buymeacoffee.com/NIG perspective. Okay, the link is on the screen. Buymeacoffee.com/NIG perspective. You go over there and you give me your money. Okay, and you can also send in super chats and all whatnot. And as always, I'm already planning for the 10 questions. I've not gotten any 10 questions, so I'm going to go with the one that my wife or myself will bring up and I will answer, and it will be for those who are members of the Buy Me a Coffee page. That will be released either on Saturday or on Sunday. So that is something for those who are members in the Buy Me a Coffee page to look forward to. I hope every one of you are members, okay? 18 of you, because I think it's going to be good content, okay? All right, so that's all the announcement. And now we get into what we are going to be discussing today. We get into that. We are going to be discussing the mass shooting. We are going to start with the attack at the synagogue in Michigan. We're going to begin with that, and then we are going to move from that to the attack at ODU. And after that, we are going to look at what people are saying about the attack, and then we'll look at some other things from the regular suspect like Sneeko and them. Right? All right. If you are ready, then let's get into it. Okay. So first we'll begin with this tweet from Oil London. They said, I don't know what gender this person is. Anyways, Michigan synagogue shooting suspect Ayman Mohammed Ghazali lost family members in an Israeli strike in Lebanon just days before attacking Temple Israel synagogue. The Lebanese-born 41-year-old is accused of driving a truck filled with explosives into a Michigan synagogue and opening fire. Several of his family members, including 2 of his brothers, were killed in an Israeli strike targeting Hezbollah in Lebanon just 10 days before the synagogue attack. This is according to the Daily Mail, right? And here are pictures of the guy. This is Kazim and Ibrahim Ghazali, brothers of the alleged West Bloomfield, Michigan attacker, appear to have been members of Hezbollah's Imam al-Mahdi scouts. Okay, so this is somebody who is a member of, or his relatives are member of Hezbollah. And when Israel, carried out an attack against them recently, 2 of his brothers who appear to be members of Hezbollah were killed. And because of that, he decided to carry his own Hezbollah attack against a synagogue in the United States. Is this not interesting? Is this not interesting that while America is busy fighting terrorists in the Middle East, they are also importing those terrorists into America, importing those terrorists into Europe, importing those terrorists into the West, such that whenever a terror attack takes place abroad, or whenever the West is fighting terrorism abroad, they have to, beef up security at home. Even though Iran doesn't have the capacity to deliver like payloads of missiles and all whatnot, long-range missiles that can fly across the ocean and land in the United States, they can't carry out such attack. But thanks to the kind of immigration policy that the United States and similar Western countries adopt, now you have ISIS, now you have Hezbollah fighters rather, you have them imported in, immigrating in. It's easy for them to just move in. And now they are in your country. Especially, it is worse if it is even Europe, where, especially if it's even in the UK, where the prime minister cannot even lend his assistance to fighting Iran, because that will make him lose his position as prime minister. So he has to think about the Muslim population. It's so interesting to see what is happening in the West with the rise of Muslim migration. So let's watch this.
At Temple, Israel, and they say a major scene was reported there. If you're familiar with the area, this is located on Walnut Lake Road. So a live look there thanks to our Fox 2 Detroit helicopter, as we see that there is some smoke there from a building, and that seems to be where the helicopter is concentrating this live look. It's a little hard to tell, but we do see that emergency responders are surrounding this building. According to Fox 2 Detroit, there is a threat underway at Temple, Israel there in Michigan.
So yeah, that is one of the news reports about the attack at Temple, Israel in Michigan. Okay, that is one of the news reports. And as we can see from this news report, this person who drove his truck filled with explosives, the explosive detonated. Okay, that is a major improvement in the way Allah plans. Okay, usually from what we saw earlier this week, when Allah plans to use explosives, those explosives don't function properly because, the people Allah use are kind of the best of the best, the best brains, right? But in this instance, you have someone with better brains than the best brain, okay? If you can believe it, okay? So Allah is kind of, increasing his tactics and, improving on his strategy and on the kind of people that he uses. So we have someone who actually knows how to detonate a bomb, alhamdulillah. And this person drove a truck filled with explosives into a synagogue and then got out of the vehicle and started shooting sporadically. So the person went on a bombing and shooting spree, all of which is happening during the blessed month of Ramadan, of course, during the blessed month of Ramadan. And here we have from Eric Doherty. Justin, Michigan synagogue security immediately engaged the active shooter, and everyone has been evacuated from the building. Bless those security officers for controlling the evil. Right now, no confirmed casualties at this time. Suspect not in custody. Too early to connect this to terrorism. Everyone has been moved out of the school per sheriff. Now, of course, this is early reports before we got the full
that security,
the full story of what was going on or what went down. But this is as it was breaking. Okay, so these are like the news reports we got as it was breaking. So let's listen to this.
that security at the temple saw the gunman and engaged him at the temple. They said no one confirmed to be hurt at this time. Too early to connect this to terrorism, says the sheriff, and we could be getting playback of the sheriff sometime soon here. The suspect is not in custody. So they are right now looking to see if there's more than one suspect, but they are telling people within a mile they should shelter in place. Everyone has been moved out of the school. That is the update from the sheriff there in Oakland County, Nicole.
That's extremely important right there. They engaged with the alleged shooter right there. That is huge. That is huge. That's important. And that's what needs to happen every single time.
All right. So that is this is one of the early reports stating that, when the shooter got out of his vehicle after, driving a vehicle filled with explosives, and then the explosive went boom, as Allah intended, alhamdulillah. The shooter got out, and before, as he started shooting, security engaged the shooter, and that led to the death of the shooter. And then more news stories started to come out. Justin, this is like, you can see as all of this is breaking, was just being dropped like few hours ago. This is 13, so a few hours ago. Justin, the Michigan synagogue shooter, is believed to be dead at this time. That's from Fox. Security swiftly engaged the shooter as soon as he was spotted, and thank God for those security officers. We don't need to watch this. So let's move on to the next breaking news story that came. Okay, just the Michigan sheriff says 0 injuries reported after active synagogue shooting, except for potentially the shooter. Good, keep it that way. School was also not in session when it happened, which is kind of good. Good. But of course, this is how Allah plans, okay? Why this guy was good at detonating bombs, he was not good at timing, or he was better at timing, okay? This Islamic terrorist was good at detonating bombs and better at timing. So he carried out his attack when the school was not in session and tried to carry out mass shooting when a school was not in session. This is powerful stuff, right? This is how you know that Allah is the one behind all of this, because he's really dotting all his I's and crossing all his T's. Okay? Allah is the best of planners, alhamdulillah. So let's listen to this.
Guys, can you say anything about any potential casualties, anyone hurt?
Nobody at the moment has been confirmed to be hurt, except potentially the shooter.
Any ties potentially to terrorism with the
That's
president?
still way early to talk about. We have no idea because we don't even know who the person is at the moment.
Has that person been neutralized?
We don't have that person in custody.
So they're still on the run?
It's a work in progress. So that's why we're sheltering in place until we figure it out. It's a big facility with a lot of land around it. Until that gets secured and everybody's comfortable that there's no active threat in that spot, stay away from it, shelter in place.
We're told there's a daycare school. Are all those kids out?
Yeah, everybody's been moved out of the school. We've got a ton of people here. As I said, West Bloomfield got on scene in a heartbeat. Everybody else came from everywhere. Actually, the chief and I have been communicating for almost 2 weeks. Every time I've gotten some intelligence from the national level, I've been sharing. We've been talking for 2 weeks about the potential, sadly, of this happening. So there was no lack of preparation. In addition...
So that means that we are expecting that something like this was going to happen. Like he just said that, for weeks they've been talking about the potential of something like this happening. This is the reality of what it looks like now to live in the West, where there is always the potential of terror attacks, especially now that America is fighting Iran and Israel is fighting Iran and Lebanon and Hezbollah. There is a likelihood that, they can't get you over there in the Middle East. They come over to the United States and try to carry out terror attacks. So...
all Jewish facilities in the area are going to have a lot of extra presence around it until we figure this out.
Yep. Of course, he's not going to say at this time if this is a terror attack, but every Jewish building and premises in the area has to be protected, put under maximum security because, that is the place that Allah is likely to target. Alhamdulillah.
Well, again, we would tell everybody shelter in place.
Okay. Was there any security at this temple, as you mentioned?
Yes, there was.
Okay.
And they engaged the threat.
So there was one person that approached the security guard and...
That's still a work in progress.
Okay, and then shots were fired?
Shots were fired.
There are reports that somebody crashed a vehicle into the building. Is that
A vehicle was involved.
Did it breach the building?
We're going to get into more details when there's time for that, and the chief will lay out exactly, specifically what happened. But we just want everybody to kind of know what's happening as we get it. More will come to you.
All right, so that's from the sheriff. Give me a second. Somebody is at my door. I want to know what the issue is. Give me a second. Sorry, I did not unmute. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm back. Sorry that I forgot to unmute my mic. Breaking: the vehicle used to attack the Michigan synagogue is registered to a migrant from Lebanon who lives in Muslim-dominated Dearborn, Michigan. Imagine my shock. We are under attack and the root causes are obvious. Yep, that is the case. So let's watch this.
Now, from Bill Malugin, the following reporter. Senior federal law enforcement confirms our reporting that the suspect is dead. Additionally, told the suspect's body is badly burned. He was killed by armed security. Bill is told that he rammed the car into the building, had a rifle, got into a shootout with security who killed him. The car was on fire inside, and that would obviously be the source of the smoke coming out of that building. So it would appear now that the immediate threat to the synagogue is over, but now we're dealing with the aftermath. Now, from Bill Malugin.
Yep, so that is what we got from this. Yep, that is the update. And we go to the Associated Press for more information on what just happened in the United States and Michigan. Man who rammed his vehicle into Michigan synagogue was naturalized citizen from Lebanon, DHS says. Okay, so here is the full report. The armed man who rammed his vehicle into one of the nation's largest Reformed synagogue Thursday has been identified as a 41-year-old naturalized citizen born in Lebanon, according to federal officers. And here is his name, Ayman Mohammed Ghazali. Ayman Mohammed Ghazali was fatally shot by security officers after driving through a hallway at Temple Israel in West Bloomfield Township near Detroit, Michigan, in a vehicle that then caught fire, authorities say. Ghazali came to the U.S. in 2011 on an immediate relative visa as the spouse of a U.S. citizen and was granted U.S. citizenship in 2016, according to the Department of Homeland Security. Jennifer Ronian, the special agent in charge of the FBI's Detroit office, called the crime a targeted act of violence against the Jewish community and said at a news conference Thursday that the FBI is leading the investigation. Investigators have not determined the motive yet, of course, but we cannot tell. His name, you don't even know the ones that we read from Oil London is not enough. It's not needed. That's what I mean. As I said, it's not enough. It's not needed. What we need is just two things, okay? To come up with a motive. One, he's a Muslim from Lebanon. Two, he's from Lebanon, a migrant from Lebanon. So let me state all the things that we need, okay? All we need to establish motive is one, he's a migrant from Lebanon. Two, he was a migrant from Lebanon. Two, his name was Muhammad. And three, he attacked a synagogue. When you put all these three things together, what do you think the motive was? What do you think his motive was? Of course, his motive was to carry out terror attacks against the Jewish community. It's probably in response to what Israel is doing against Hezbollah, or probably what the United States is doing against Iran. So there you have it. I just solved the case, okay? What drove this person into action has to be determined by the investigation, said Oakland County Sheriff Mike Burchard. None of the synagogue staff, teachers, or the 140 children at its early childhood center were injured, Burchard said. So this is what this person was aiming for. This person was aiming to attack a building that was holding 140 children. So the goal is to kill as many of those children as possible. These were children in their early childhood. In the minute after the attack, smoke billowed from the synagogue. One security officer was hit by the vehicle and knocked unconscious, but did not suffer life-threatening injuries, the sheriff said. And 30 law enforcement officers were treated for smoke inhalation. West Bloomfield Police Chief Dale Young said temple security officers engaged the individual and neutralized the threat. The suspect was found dead inside his vehicle, according to Burchard. Cassie Cohen, Director for Strategy Development at Temple Israel, was standing at the hallway where the crash happened. She said she had a loud bang, grabbed a few staff members, ran into our office and locked the door. When I had the crash, I knew it was bad, Cohen said. She said a classroom was near where the car rammed the synagogue, and in addition to the children who were as old as 4, there were also more than 30 staffs in the synagogue. Thankfully, we have had many active shooter drills, and our staff is prepared for these situations, she said. Rabbi Ariana Golden, let me read this again. Rabbi Ariana Golden from Temple Israel thanked the security team, law enforcement, and early childhood teachers for getting the children out safely and reuniting Rabbi Ariana Golden from Temple Israel thanked security team, law enforcement, and early childhood teachers for getting the children out safely and reunited with their parents, calling them the true rock stars of the day. About a dozen parents sprinted to get their children soon after authorities cleared the building. Other families were reunited at a nearby Jewish community center. Alison Jacob, whose 18-month-old daughter is enrolled in Temple Israel's daycare, said she got a message from a teacher saying the children were okay, even before she knew what happened. There are no words. I was in complete and utter shock, she told the AP. I was hoping it was a false report. Jacobs, whose family is Jewish, said she tried not to think about all that's going on in the world. She never think about this. She never think that this is actually going to happen. You never think that this is actually going to happen to you, she said. But I know that it's just terrible. This morning I was mourning the loss of the school that got hit in Iran. Okay, come on. You don't need to. All right, you know what? Fine. This is synagogues around the world have been on edge and have been ramping up security since the U.S. and Israel launched a war with Iran with missile strikes on February 28. The FBI has warned that Iranian operatives may be planning drone strikes on targets in California. 2 men bought explosives to a far-right protest outside the New York mayoral mansion on Saturday. Investigators allege they were inspired by the Islamic State extremist group. And an assailant drove a car into people outside an Orthodox synagogue in Manchester, England on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the Jewish calendar. He stabbed 2 people to death before officers shot and killed him. President Donald Trump said he has been fully briefed on the attack, calling it a terrible thing. This person, the CEO of Jewish Federation of Detroit, lamented the fact that his organization had to train and prepare for an attack. I would love to say that I'm shocked, that I'm surprised, but I'm not, he said during a news conference on Thursday. Oakland County is Michigan's second largest county with roughly 1.3 million people. The majority of Detroit area Jewish residents live there. This is heartbreaking. Michigan's governor, this person said in a statement, Michigan's Jewish community should be able to live and practice their faith in peace. It was the second attack at a home of worship in Michigan within the past year. Last September, a former Marine fatally shot 4 people at a church north of Detroit and set it ablaze. The FBI later said he was motivated by anti-religious beliefs against the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. Temple Israel has 12,000 members, according to his website, which says the synagogue is passionate about helping Jewish communities across the globe, and that its mission is to create a community building through the lens of Reform Judaism. And it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. All right, so what do we know thus far? We know the name of the shooter. We know where he's from. We know how he got into the United States. We also heard from Oil London, although this is not, according to the Daily Mail, that this person's relative in Hezbollah were killed by Israeli strikes because his relatives, 2 of his brothers in Lebanon, were members of Hezbollah. And when Israel carried out an attack against Hezbollah, 2 of his brothers were killed, as they should be. And this seems to be like a reprisal attack. But because this reprisal attack was coordinated by Allah himself, it was as successful as Muhammad's ability to get a male son. Anyways, that is one attack, okay? That is one attack, that is one incident. But that is just the first of many, right? That is just the first of many. Also, before we move on, I just want to state that this is one of the news that we got after this attack is that all Jewish organizations nationwide has been urged to go into lockout protocol out of an abundance caution after an active shooter at a Michigan synagogue. Abhorrent and evil, pray casualties end up zero. So what this is saying essentially is that there is a nationwide call for every Jewish organization and Jewish property and Jewish establishment, basically religious establishments, not business establishments, more religious establishments like schools and synagogues to carry out a lockout operation because of the level of threat that seems to have increased over the past couple of days or past few days. Okay, so yeah, this is what we are experiencing. This is what is being experienced. Not we. I'm not one of you people. This is what is being experienced in the United States since the war, and that's just one attack. Of course, you remember the one that happened in New York. That one was just an act of stupidity, and we all knew how that went. Let's refresh our memory on how that the media responded to that, right? I think it's important to remind ourselves of that before we move to the second attack that took place in ODU in Virginia. Let's remind ourselves how the news of the attack in New York was was reported, especially by the citadel of journalistic awesomeness, the citadel of the pinnacle of journalistic integrity. And I'm talking about CNN, of course, and ABC. Okay, so we are going to look at a couple of things right now. Okay, so this is from this is a screenshot of a deleted tweet from CNN. This is how they announced the terror attack that took place during the protest. I think early this week at Gracie Mansion in New York City. 2 Pennsylvania teenagers crossed into New York City Saturday morning for what could have been a normal day, enjoying the city during abnormally warm weather. But in less than an hour, their lives would drastically change as the pair would be arrested for throwing homemade bombs during an anti-Muslim protest outside of Zura Mamdani's home. Here is what we know so far. I mean, give it up for CNN. This is accurate reporting. This is the pinnacle of journalistic integrity. This is what it means to be a reporter of the facts. This is how you open it. It's a novel, okay? This is a novel about 2 teenagers from Pennsylvania who are having a rather delightful day, doing the best they could to go on with their lives until somehow, in a twist of fate, right? In a twist of fate, they find themselves arrested. Somehow, their day took a unexpected, drastic turn when they found themselves arrested, for throwing homemade bombs during an anti-Muslim protest outside of Zura Mamdani's home. That is exactly what happened. And Seth Dillon is here commenting, saying, what kind of world do we live in if a couple of kids can't even throw bombs into a crowd on a beautiful day without getting arrested? Is that really a crime now? I mean, the way they reported the whole thing is so fantastic. This is what real journalism is, ladies and gentlemen. You would think that this was written by the Babylon Bee, but no, it was written by CNN. And they wrote this without any iota of shame, with confidence. It was like, yeah, we are going to wax poetic with this one. And here is another kind of headline that we get from this. 2 men, I don't know if you guys can see this, 2 men were charged for throwing makeshift bombs near the NYC mayor's home. Here's what we know. Of course, this is from CNN. 2 men, just 2 men, 2 guys, 2 young people living their best lives. They're just, arrested for throwing homemade bombs, makeshift bombs, right? That is what happened. And of course, CNN had to delete that when people helped them to realize just how ridiculous their headline and their post sounded. Of course, this is not the headline, this is the post. And CNN, retracted it or deleted the tweet and then issued this statement. A post regarding the 2 individuals. Of course, it's just 2 individuals, 2 guys, 2 upright citizens, 2 fantastic teenagers, right? A post regarding the 2 individuals arrested for throwing homemade bombs outside of New York City, Zora Mamdani's outside of New York City Mayor. A post regarding the 2 individuals arrested for throwing homemade bombs outside of New York City Mayor Zora Mamdani's home failed to reflect the gravity of the incident, thereby breaching the editorial standard we require for all our reporting. It has therefore been deleted, of course. Yeah, of course, people have an editorial standard that it failed to meet. I mean, when I read this, I thought you guys were waxing poetic. I thought you guys were aiming for a Pulitzer with this one. But yeah, of course, it did not. But then suddenly you guys backtracked, and said, no, we are going to delete this because, it did not meet our editorial standard. I think it did. And then here is a community note saying, both CNN's original post and follow-up deletion statement exemplify minimized framing, a media bias technique that downplays an event's severity via selective narrative and language. Of course, instead of talking about the fact that the people involved were affiliated with ISIS, talking about how these people were inspired by ISIS and how they said in their statement that they did this on behalf of Allah, and then one of them wrote in the statement that he gave to the police, "Die in your rage, you kuffar." All of that is not mentioned. The ISIS part is not mentioned. The radical Islamist element is not mentioned, or just the pious Muslim element is not mentioned. Instead, it's just 2 individuals that were arrested for just throwing homemade bombs, outside of Zora Mamdani's home. And we are still wondering, who are these people and what did they do and context is not even given. But yeah, this is the editorial standard that CNN requires, of course. And Konstantin Kisin said, it didn't fail to reflect the gravity of the situation. It failed to accurately communicate who was responsible, who the intended victims were, and where the blame for the attempted terror attack lay. In other words, you didn't accidentally downplay the seriousness of it. You deliberately misrepresented what happened to conceal the truth from the public. Exactly. And you guys are still doing it. Even with your correction statement, you guys are still doing it. You guys are still downplaying the severity of what happened. You guys are still not giving the context required. And you guys know that so many people will not go to read the article. So many people are going to go by how you posted it on your Twitter feed, and that's all the information they will get. So if you know that this is, for the most part, all the information that people will get, why not front load it with all the necessary things people need to know? Right? And said Dylan, in responding to this, said, the B and CNN are very similar. We both publish funny fake news. The difference is that one of us is joking. Of course, that is the case here. And then he said, and sometimes our stories come true. And then said Dylan also pointed out another reporting of this from ABC. Said in the upside down of leftism, terrorists are activists, and activists like Christians praying outside abortion clinics are terrorists. That is how it works. And this is how ABC wrote about this. An activist holds a homemade explosive device before throwing it towards police during a protest organized by far-right influencer Jake Lang against alleged Islamification in front of Gracie Mansion on March 7, 2026 in New York City, or in New York. Now listen to how this was framed. An activist holding a homemade explosive device. An activist holds a homemade explosive device before throwing it towards police during a protest organized by far-right influencer Jake Lang against alleged Islamification in front of Gracie Mansion on March 7, 2026 in New York. Do you see all the things that we are highlighted in this statement? Do you see all the things they care to highlight? One, like minus the activist part, okay? Minus that activist part, what they did their due diligence to mention was there was a far-right influencer who held a rally that is allegedly that is against alleged Islamification, and this happened in front of Zura Mamdani's home. So you see the two things that they are doing. One, they did their best, their utmost best. They did their utmost best to mention that this was an anti-Muslim or anti-Islam protest, that an anti-Islam protest was taking place. They did not mention that there was an anti-Islam protest that was also taking place. In fact, here is the interesting thing about the anti-Islam protest. The anti-Islam protest had more people in attendance than the anti-Islam protest. They did not mention that. Okay, what needs to be mentioned is the anti-Islam protest. Okay, that is important to mention that in this situation, according to ABC's editorial standards, right? Another thing they did not fail. They did their best, their utmost best to mention was that the person involved in this is a far-right influencer known as Jake Lang, or a far-right influencer called Jake Lang. That is important. It's important to know that this anti-Islam protest was carried out by a far-right influencer. And see the framing. See how this was framed. This was framed without any further context to this statement. What a reader will take away from this, without further context, what a reader will take away from this is that the activist in question was probably an activist on the side of Jake Lang, was probably an activist who was in the protest against, and who was the person protesting Islamification in New York City. So what someone is going to take away from this after seeing this is that one of the protesters who came to protest, who came to an anti-Islam protest threw a homemade bomb or a homemade explosive device. Meanwhile, the person who actually threw the device is an Islamist from Pennsylvania who wanted to carry out a terror attack in the name of Allah and in the name of ISIS. And that was not mentioned. That context, they did not find it necessary to mention. And it's not just that. We have a CNN reporter live on CNN making this statement.
Two Republicans say Muslims don't belong here after an attempted terror attack against New York's Mayor Zoran Mamdani, and the House Speaker Mike Johnson says nothing really to condemn those comments. Another special guest is going to be with us at the table when we come to.
Did you see what was said here? Do you see what this person said? You see what this lady said? She said a terror attack against Zoran Mamdani just took place, and lawmakers are saying Muslims don't belong here. Do you see the framing? This is from CNN. This is from CNN. They will do anything to run cover for Islamists, essentially. And here is something from the Babylon Bee to help us understand what is going on.
And so at this point, our efforts are centered on maintaining alignment across the relevant departments while preserving optionality as conditions evolve.
Mr. President, we have a problem. U.S. authorities are investigating device thrown near Gracie Mansion.
What kind of device? Like an explosive?
Two in custody after suspicious device lit outside Gracie Mansion amid anti-Islam protest.
So the anti-Islam protesters lit a bomb?
I'm just conveying the news. These are actual news headlines, and they're quite clear, Mr. President.
I still don't know what the device is, or who did it, or why.
Let me clarify, sir. Explosive at NYC protest near Gracie Mansion posed serious risk. Police say.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere.
Exactly. Homemade bomb thrown at protest near NYC mayor's house. Police say.
So the protesters threw the bomb?
Device hurled near NYC mayor's mansion was an IED that could have caused serious injury or death.
That's terrible, but you basically already said that. Who perpetrated the attack?
Well, police arrested several people after a smoke-generating suspicious device was thrown during a protest at Gracie Mansion.
So it wasn't a bomb? Look, never mind. Who did it?
One of the articles said they were Pennsylvania men, sir.
Pennsylvania men.
They're from Bucks County.
I don't care where they lived. Who are they?
Their names are Amir and Ibrahim.
What? Speak up, son. I'm the President of the United States of America.
I said Amir and Ibrahim.
Oh, you could have just led with that. That explains everything. You know, honestly, I should have known it was Muslims. It's my fault, really. Is that an update? What does it say?
Media forgets to mention that NYC bombers were Muslims inspired by ISIS. Politicians blame white supremacy.
Well, next time just read me news from that site.
They're fake news, sir.
Oh.
On page 153.
Mr. President, some people did something.
Anyway, so yeah, that was how that was handled by the media. And now we are having like how many in 1 week? And 2 just yesterday from people who go by Mohammed. Right. So here is the second attack. This one happened at a school, a university, and we're going to look at all the reports we can find from X. Okay, so this is from the same Eric Doherty, our news reporter. Breaking: Muslim Virginia University shooter Mohammed Jalal yelled Allahu Akbar as he unleashed fire on students, FBI says. He was formerly a subject of an FBI investigation in material support of terrorism. When does it stop? Deport the third world and cut off migration now. All right, let's see this.
With still little details that we know about the shooting so far, how are we able to confirm that this was an act of terrorism?
How it was an act of terrorism? I can tell you that we have confirmed reports that prior to him conducting this act of terrorism, he stated Allahu Akbar, and he was formerly a subject of a FBI investigation in material supporting terrorism.
If somebody who is a migrant is suspected for terrorism, is it not best to carry out the investigation while the person is in their home country? You know, the first thing you do is remove the person, and then after the person is out of the way, you can now start having conversation about, you know, whether the person is a threat or not. If you've confirmed that this person is not a threat, then you can bring the person back. You don't leave the person in the country and then be like, oh, we are running an investigation. We are trying to get to the bottom of the matter to know for a fact this person is an actual threat. That is how you end up with a terror attack in a university. And with a shooter that has ties to ISIS. You know. There is another report from Eric Doherty. Breaking: the FBI just confirmed that the Old Dominion University student in Virginia killed the Islamic attacker with no firearms, all by themselves. Allah is the best of planners. Okay? Another proof that Allah is indeed the best of planners. His best soldiers can be taken down by students without gun. He has a gun, he's a mass shooter, and students can just, with their fist, you know, handle him and neutralize him and kill him, essentially. The law enforcement officers was impressed. The student who subdued him rendered him no longer alive. I don't know how else to say it. They basically were able to terminate the threat. He was not shot, the question, and then the FBI agent replied, he was not shot. Those dudes were the best. But Allah is the best of planners, okay? They planned, and Allah planned. And Allah is the best of planners, alhamdulillah.
How was he deceased?
There were students who were in that room that subdued him and rendered him no longer alive. I don't know how else to say it, but they basically were able to terminate the threat.
Yep. So he was not shot?
He was not shot.
He shot 3 people?
Correct. We have information that he shot 3 people.
The one that went to Virginia?
Alhamdulillah. Of course, this is how you know that Allah is the best of planners. Now, in this incident, I think 3 people were shot, two of the 3 people were injured, and one of them unfortunately passed away. But yeah, and it's quite unfortunate. Now, let's hear from NBC News on this attack. Give me a second. Let me back this up a little bit. And let's watch NBC News.
The gunman who killed 1 person and injured 2 others at Old Dominion University had previously been convicted of providing material support to ISIS.
Oh, he was not just being investigated, but convicted, according to this news reporter. Okay. But the FBI person said he was being investigated. Man, who is correct at this point?
So here is the scene on campus after the attack. The gunman was killed in the shooting. The FBI director says it will be investigated.
He wasn't killed. He said if the gunman was killed in the shooting. According to the FBI statement, the gunman was not killed by guns. Okay, not like killed in the shooting, make it look like he was shot at. He wasn't shot at, but okay.
As an act of terrorism.
This is from FBI Director Kash Patel. Earlier today, an armed individual opened fire at Old Dominion University, leaving 1 person dead, sadly, and 2 others wounded. The shooter is now deceased thanks to a group of brave students who stepped in and subdued him. Actions that undoubtedly saved lives along with the quick response of law enforcement. The FBI is now investigating the shooting as an act of terrorism. Our Joint Terrorism Task Force is fully engaged, embedded with local authorities, and providing all resources necessary in the investigation. In the meantime, please pray for the victims, their families, and the ODU community.
The identities of the victims have not been released. It comes as authorities are also investigating an ISIS-inspired attempted attack earlier in the week at Gracie Mansion in New York. NBC's Ryan Riley is following this story for us in this investigation. What have you learned so far?
Yeah, so as our colleague Tom Winter actually first reported, the FBI has now confirmed the identity of this individual gunman as Mohammed Jola. What we know about this individual is they actually convicted in a completely separate case 10 years ago, right? So back in 2016, they're arrested in connection with this FBI bust of involving support for ISIS. And in that case, what the authorities alleged is that this individual bought a gun and was part of a plot to kill members of the military. So while
if that is true, okay, now I don't know if this is like a recent update from the FBI office, but if that is true, that this person was convicted 10 years ago for collaborating with ISIS, for trying to carry out an ISIS attack, why was he released? And if he's a migrant, like we've been told, why was he not deported? Why was he not deported? Like, the West should start, like, having a program or a strategy or a procedure, a legal procedure for removing people who became citizens by naturalization if they involve themselves in crimes like this. If somebody who is a naturalized citizen of the United States commits terror attack or is suspected or is part of a terror plot, it's not just you take that person to prison. No, you revoke the person's citizenship and you send that person back from where they came from. And as somebody just said in the chat, the person was released in 2024. Released in 2024, 2 years later, carrying out a terror attack. Why was he released, and why was his release not released back to whatever country he came from? That is the way he should have been released. Released back to wherever country he came from. In fact, he should not be allowed into prison, because one of the things these people do when they are in prison is that they get to radicalize other inmates. You know.
do not, the authorities have not yet spoken as to the official motive. We know that he was associated with ISIS in the past and admitted to that in conjunction with that case, and that was allegedly part of a plot to kill members of the military. He ultimately got 11 years in prison, and he was released in 2024. And if viewers are trying to do the math on that.
Yep, he was released in 2024. 11 years, released in 2024. And 2 years later, he's carrying out another ISIS-related attack.
The reason for that is because you have to do at least 85% of your time behind bars under federal law. So that actually makes sense that if you're sentenced to 11 years, if you get credit for time served and you were arrested in 2016, that you would get out around the end of 2024. But he was...
So he didn't do 11 years, essentially. He did not do 11 years. Because 2016, he's supposed to be released in 2027. If I'm correct, supposed to be released in 2027. He was released in 2024. So he did less than 11 years, like a few years less than 11 years.
Still on computer monitoring as well as on probation for 5 years. And so that, I think, is going to be the real question here is how close was that monitoring? Was he in a halfway house at this point? We're not.
Why are you spending taxpayer money on that? Like, why are you spending taxpayers' money on monitoring this guy when you can just easily deal with the problem by sending him back to the country where he came from? Let that country be his problem. Let him be the problem of that country. Like, why waste resources on monitoring? The Western countries should have laws like that. Laws that say, yes, you get naturalized, but if you, after naturalization, involve in terror attacks, you are going back. Your citizenship is revoked and you are going back to wherever you came from. But then we have Western countries people who are not even citizens, they can't even send them back. And I'm talking about countries like the UK. They can't even send back people who are not citizens, who are carrying out attacks and carrying out, committing crimes and all whatnot. They can't even send those people back. These are people who are so-called asylum seekers, failed asylum seekers, who are still in the UK. They are not being sent back. Not to talk of those who become naturalized citizens and then they commit crimes.
Entirely clear on that. So there's still a lot of questions. And of course, how did he get the gun? That's the big question. If you have a conviction in your past, you can't go to the local gun store and pick up a weapon. So the question of how he obtained that weapon, I think, is going to be one that law enforcement are going to be looking at closely.
And again, he was killed.
He was killed on the scene, yes.
Brian Riley, thank you very much for that.
Thankfully, we are learning new. Thankfully, he was killed. And now we have this. This is a breakdown. Let me make this small. Okay, so these are the people who have been just in the past 2 weeks. Okay, this is from last week in Austin, Texas. These are the two guys from New York. This is the guy from Virginia. And this is the one from Michigan. In just 2 months, 2 weeks, 4 terror attacks, non-white, not white, not Christians. Yep, so there you have it. And that is all the terror updates that we have for you. Alhamdulillah. All right, so that is the terror attacks that took place, but there have been conversations around it, okay? The first conversation around it involves Tucker Carlson. Yes, Tucker Carlson. It involves Tucker Carlson and Laura Loomer. Okay, they got into a bit of a back and forth on X, and we are going to look at that right away. So yeah, it has become the case now that whenever there are terror attacks in the United States, one name that needs to be discussed is Tucker Carlson. Well, he did it to himself. And when you decide to run cover and to become a propagandist for radical Islam, for just devout Islam, for pious Islam, you have to, be ready to bear the consequences. And this is one of them. Unfortunately, for people who listen to Tucker Carlson, who are mostly now like people from Pakistan, Tucker Carlson began to envy the fan base of Andrew Tate and the fan base of Sneeko, and decided to, get a huge chunk of their fan base. And now he's getting retweets from people who live in Pakistan and Bangladesh. And some Americans too are also falling for whatever it is that he is selling. Anyways, this is from Laura Loomer. Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens both said everyone needs to know where their local Shabab is. I said their hatred would lead to people shooting up Jews in synagogues. It would likely end up being a Muslim. The Trump administration must start deporting these Islamic savages. Let me read this again. Sorry. I'm from a third world country, so sometimes reading is not very good when the texts are kind of small and I have to read it out loud. Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens both said everyone needs to know where their local Shabab is. I said their hatred will lead to people shooting up Jews in synagogues. It would likely end up being a Muslim. The Trump administration must start deporting these Islamic savages from our country, and we must start holding people accountable for inciting violence. This is very sad. And this was said in response to someone who posted on X the news that there is an active shooting at synagogue with a school in West Bloomfield, Michigan. Right? And in response to that, Tucker Carlson said, I rarely read the filth you publish and have never responded to it for the same reason I avoid pornography. Tucker, I don't think you should say you avoid pornography, because one thing we've learned about somebody like you is that whatever you say is the opposite. The opposite of everything you say is true. If you say something is true, if you make a claim and say this is indeed fact, we always find out that the opposite is actually what the truth is. So now that nobody asks you and you decide to offer the information that you avoid pornography, I'm beginning to wonder if that is true. It is unhealthy, and I don't want to encourage it. Okay, you don't want to encourage whatever filth that you claim that she publishes. Okay, but in this specific case, I understand exactly what you are doing, and I would like to stop it now. I have never said or suggested that everyone needs to know where their local Shabab is. No, but you said that they should Google Shabab. And you know when they Google Shabab, especially when they're in the United States, they will get the location of the nearest Shabab building around them. You said you never said anyone needs to know where their local Shabab is or anything remotely like that. I didn't attack or even criticize Shabab. No, you did, Tucker, you did. And you even blamed them. You even tried to connect them with the war in Iran. An organization I've mentioned precisely once in my life, and that once you made sure it counts for something, right? Last week I said I believe that IDF soldiers in Israel had received Third Temple patches for their uniform from Shabab. I believe that's true. Please let me know if I'm wrong. Not that you care. Of course, she doesn't care. The point of your post is to blame me preemptively for violent attack on American Jews that you believe are coming. This is an absurd slander, of course. I abhor violence against innocents, of course you do. Which is why I am disgusted by what Israel has done in Gaza and why I urge against the current war in Iran. As a Christian, of course, he needs to remind you every 5 seconds that he's a Christian, and that's why he's against violence. And an American, of course, please never doubt that he's an American. I am also vehemently opposed punishing anyone on the basis of bloodline, of course. But you host people on your show who hold that view. You find if Osama bin Laden is alive today, is still alive, if that man was still alive, you will bring him on your show because you think his voice needs to be heard. The concept of Amalek has no place in Western civilization and certainly not in my country. Don't forget what Amalek did to you is in a Western country, probably in your country. I am therefore strongly opposed to anti-Semitism, precisely as much as I'm opposed to anti-Arab hate. Precisely as much as I am to the anti-Arab hate you promote or the anti-white bias embedded in the US government and our largest institutions. There is nobody who is promoting anti-Arab hate, Tucker. Nobody. Talking about Islam is not anti-Arab hate, okay? Arabs are many things other than just Muslims. There are Arab Christians, okay? There are Arab atheists. There are Arabs who are into so many things, okay? I'm pointing out Islam, or like some people like to talk about it online, radical Islam. It's not promoting anti-Arab hatred. If that is the case, then what you do is anti-Semitism, for Christ's sake. You claim to be condemning Israel or criticizing Benjamin Netanyahu's administration, even though all you do is just spread unfounded lies. It is all immoral and indefensible. I believe in the inherent right of the individual because I believe in God. You see, I want to say this about Tucker Carlson, and I believe this strongly. The amount of the way and the opportunity and the means by which he always prefixes and he prefix and suffix or and mid-fix, if there's anything like that, all his statement, and pepper all his rubbish with "I am a Christian, I am an American, I believe in the right of humans to whatever, I believe in this, I believe in this, I believe in God." The way he does that is questionable. Like, honestly, I think it is questionable. As somebody who does that, somebody like him especially, doing that over and over again. Like, Tucker is going to make one statement, and half of the statement is him reminding you how he's a lover of God, how he's a Christian, and how as a Christian he has certain morals, and how he's a person of high moral principles, and how he condemns, hatred, and how he's against hatred. Like, he does that like 1 million. He's like Andrew Tate when he's about to accuse somebody of being gay and to spread rumors about the person. And he's going to prefix everything and make 90% or 50% of what he's about to say be, I am not about to be a gossip girl. I'm not about to spread gossip. I'm not about to lie. Everything I'm telling you is 100% factual. Then this person is probably about to lie. And that is the case with Tucker Carlson right here. He's lying. I mean, let's do a quick Twitter search. Tucker Carlson, Shabab, or Shabbat, I don't know how it is. Shabbat. Let's get that clip where Tucker Carlson was talking about Shabbat. This is Tucker Carlson's statement about Shabbat.
So how exactly did the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, a military that the U.S. taxpayer pays for, that lots of wealthy Americans send money to friends of the IDF, how did all these guys wind up wearing patches suggesting the point of this war was the destruction of one of the holiest places in Islam and the rebuilding of a temple that is totally anathema to Christianity? Like, how?
First of all, Tucker, explain to me like a 5-year-old, and quote all the scripture you can find, because I know you don't know so much of scripture, but tell me how Jews building the third temple is anathema to Christianity. Like, of course, whatever, there's so many things that people do, religious practices that are just anti-religious, or let me not say anti-religious, that are just anti-Christian. Like, for example, in India, they built a temple to one of their gods like that. They demolished the mosque. In place of that mosque that was demolished, the temple was erected. A Hindu temple was erected. Now, that Hindu temple is anti-Christian. But why should I care as a Christian? Right? Why should I care? Like, what I mean by why should I care? Of course, there's a reason why I should care. Whenever I see idolatry being promoted and being exalted, it should break my heart, and my response to that is to see how I can save these people, get these people saved, get these people to see the light of the gospel, right? That is the only care I should have with regards to that. Oh, look at the darkness that these people are wallowing in. If only there is a way I can bring the light of the gospel to them, right? That is all this will evoke whenever I see it. So when I see Jews talk about building a third temple, let's say they want to build a third temple as they are working towards it. I don't think, this is going to be the downfall of Christianity, or this is blasphemous, or this is something that is really injurious to Christianity, such that as a Christian, I am obligated to use military force to prevent it from happening, or to use electoral political process to prevent it from happening. My geopolitics should be geared towards ensuring that the nation of Israel or the Jews in Israel don't build a third temple. No, if there is a way I want to stop the building of the third temple, is to find a way to get into Israel and preach the gospel to the Jews there. Because if we get more Jews to convert to Christianity, the idea of building a third temple will be abandoned, because there will be no Jews, so-called. Now, when I mean so-called, I mean, of course, there will be Jews, but there will be no religious Jews, enough number of them who want to pursue the building of the third temple. Right? So that is like, as a Christian, that should be your reaction. That should be your sensible reaction. But for Tucker Carlson, he's trying to condition his fans who, of course, believe themselves like him. They all believe that they are Christians, that, somehow the Jews building a third temple is kind of injurious to your faith. It's kind of like an attack on your faith. It's kind of something that should give you this kind of reaction of you should do everything within your power to prevent this. Your geopolitics should be decided by doing anything you can to prevent the Jews from building the third temple. If they want to build the third temple, they should go ahead and build the third temple. Maybe Christians don't know this, but if the Jews are to build a third temple, that third temple will not have the Ark of the Covenant. Which in essence is just, what is that? Is that really a temple? What is the temple without the presence of God? What is the temple without the Ark of the Covenant in it? But of course, these are just Christians who don't even read their Bibles, who don't know anything about the New Testament, talk more of the Old Testament. And Tucker Carlson, like them, think that, this should be something that as a Christian, you should get this visceral reaction to the fact that they are trying to build a third temple. What is the word that he used again? He said this is, let me get the word he used.
Of a temple that is totally anathema to Christianity.
Yeah, it's totally anathema to Christianity. This is totally heretical to Christianity. So many things. If that is how we are defining heresy, anything that is not Christian is heretic. The fact that a Jew is just praying is heretic. But of course, we know that when we talk about heresy, we are talking about a form of Christianity that is a deviation from Orthodox Christianity. That is how the word is being used. And Jews are not claiming to be Christians. So how are they being doing something by building the third temple? How are they being doing something that is totally heretical when they're not even Christians to begin with?
Like, how did this happen? Well, there are a lot of ways it happened. The main way it happened is because no one in the United States noticed, because it's such a secular place. And as noted, we have eyes but can't see and ears and can't hear. But this has been going on a long time in public through, in part, the efforts of a group called Chabad, Chabad. And you may know people who give money to Chabad or run Chabad, super nice people, engaged in all kinds of charitable activities, drug rehab. There's a lot about Chabad that's really good. But what is Chabad exactly? Well, Chabad, you can look it up, is a very old organization, about 250 years old. And it's a branch of Hasidic Judaism. It's an organization that was overseen for many years by a guy called Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, who was famously in Brooklyn, considered the Messiah by some of his followers, who was a friend of presidents, or certainly someone presidents visited. He was a very powerful man in the Orthodox and the Hasidic community. And he was the overseer of Chabad, which predated him and outlasted him, but he was its most visible ambassador. And Chabad has been pushing in a pretty subtle way, unless you look carefully, for the reconstruction of the Third Temple. And it seems like, from the reading we did recently, that those patches actually came from Chabad. Well, in any case, Chabad is pushing for the building of the Third Temple.
So there you have it, Tucker. There you have it, blaming Chabad for that they are part of the people that are pushing for the rebuilding of the Third Temple. And you have said that this war, you've had your guests, you know how you get people to say the thing you want to say. And your entire show have been making the claim that this entire war with Iran is geared towards the rebuilding of the Third Temple. And you've gotten your fans to see that as a very despicable thing, something that they should be angry about, something that they should be upset about, something that they should wake up at night thinking about, something that should keep them up at night, worried, frantic, right? And then you tell them that one of the organizations that are pushing for this is Chabad. Is that true? Anyway, here is a reply from Laura Luma. First, let's address just a couple of Tucker's lies in his latest screed against me. Number one, Tucker said, I didn't attack or even criticize Chabad. Tucker Carlson manufactured a conspiracy theory claiming that Chabad, which is a Jewish group focused on education and outreach, was behind the war with Iran, and that he wanted the war because he wanted to destroy the Al-Aqsa mosques so the Third Temple can be rebuilt. And we just saw that. A few days later, he stated verbatim, Chabad does not disavow violence against innocents. Which is kind of like a ridiculous statement. Chabad does not disavow. It's like saying Frank does not disavow violence against the innocent, as if I have avowed it, as if I have pushed for it. You know, this is like a negative that means nothing. It's like saying, it's like me saying Tucker Carlson has never made any statement against world hunger. Have you guys noticed that? That Tucker Carlson has never disavowed poverty. As if that automatically means that he has avowed it. But of course, that is the play on word that they use. That is the technique that they use. And stupid people fall for it every time. He went so far as to tell his audience how to spare Chabad. Why would he do that? Well, if you are radicalized followers start Googling Chabad, they will see that there are Chabad buildings all around. And then what do you think will happen? Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. Number 2, Tucker said, I am therefore strongly opposed to anti-Semitism. Tucker Carlson has used the show to promote the view of neo-Nazis and Holocaust deniers like Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, Daryl Cooper, Ian Caro, and many Muslims who openly spew Islamic hatred and jihadist talking points. He has aggressively targeted Jews and Israel with lies and slander for over 2 years while aggressively promoting hostile nation states like Iran, Qatar, and Russia. He said that he hates Christian Zionists more than anyone else. A Zionist is a person who believes that Israel has the right to exist. In essence, Tucker is saying he would be happy if Israel was destroyed. There are over 400,000 American citizens living in Israel. Tucker is essentially saying that he's okay if terrible things happen to 400,000 Americans because he hates Israel. Last week, he even said Israel is the ugliest country in the world. He did. Also, one of his best friends, demonic grifter Candace Owens, immediately echoed Tucker's attacks on Chabad. See screenshot below. Tucker is lashing out because I showed President Trump what Tucker was saying about him in addition to the many other horrific things Tucker spews on his show at the expense of unity in the MAGA movement. President Trump responded by saying, Tucker has lost his way. I knew that a long time ago, and he's not MAGA. MAGA is saving our country. MAGA is making our country great again. MAGA is America first, and Tucker is none of those things. And Tucker is really not smart enough to understand that. In another interview, Trump said Tucker's deranged rambling have no impact on him. In other words, Trump knows Tucker Carlson is a loon, and Tucker has lost his influence. So that is from Laura Loomer, and here is another post from Laura Loomer. It's so interesting that I've noticed that one of the people who carry water for Tucker Carlson recently is this writer at the Daily Mail. Let me get his name. Philip Nieto, whose title is a U.S. political reporter, and he works for the Daily Mail. And every once in a while he posts. Let's just look at some of the things that he has posted. Tucker Carlson erupts. Nancy Mace throws herself into Iran war zone. Middle East war causes largest oil. Trump boasts U.S. would make lots of money from biggest oil crisis in history. U.S. to blame for strike on Iran's nuclear. Trump says Iran will lose soon. Trump accused of disgusting betrayal. Read the leaked Iran terror report. Details that Trump didn't want you to see. Hexed said we take civilian death in Iran very seriously. Amid fury over bombed schoolgirls. Trump floats endless war in Iran after mysterious call with Putin. Trump issues chilling warning. Trump furious. White House blocks significant. No, you can see this person, Christine. This is like Tucker Carlson's fellow propagandists that work at the Daily Mail. And whenever there is a Tucker Carlson news headline, he does his best to to launder it and to distort it. And Laura Loomer is pointing it out here. She said, as I previously exposed, anytime Tucker Carlson wants to get news coverage, he runs to his former employee, Philip Nieto, to do his dirty work. Like clockwork, Nieto is now publishing a story in the Daily Mail about Tucker attacking me today. Tucker is just mad I got President Trump to wake up to the facts that Tucker is a neo-Nazi sympathizer and is suspected of being an Islamic foreign agent. Everyone with eyes and ears who isn't on Qatar's payroll, no, Tucker Carlson is lying to get Jews murdered. Why else would he accuse Jews of trying to usher in the end times with his baseless conspiracy theories about Chabad? One thing I find very interesting about those who are like anti-end time, who are like, oh, this is going to lead to the end time. I'm like, if you are a Christian, is your prayer not for God to come and for Christ to, come and take his people home, for that to happen, for the rapture to take place? So if whatever is happening in the world is going to lead to the Antichrist, you know that the rapture is going to take place before the Antichrist, and that is your opportunity to go home. But of course, you are not a serious Christian. You know nothing about eschatology other than to blame Jews. So people's understanding of eschatology is just, anti-Semitism, essentially. Tucker is the most dangerous anti-Semite in America and should be ostracized and publicly shamed everywhere he goes. Tucker won't be going back to the White House anytime soon unless J.D. Vance lets him inside. But given the recent 2028 polling that now shows Marco Rubio in the lead, I don't think that's wise. Tucker is toast. Everyone can thank me for putting the nail in Tucker's coffin. But I guess Tucker did it to himself by platforming Nazis, Holocaust deniers, jihadi sympathizers. He did it to himself by being an anti-American chaos agent. He has blood on his hands, and other people might be afraid of calling Tucker out and taking him on, but I'm not. I'll get in the mud and wrestle with this pig, and I will win. I already won. Kudos to you, Laura. Kudos to you. All right, that is all the boring news we have. Now let's go to the interesting stuff. Let's go to the interesting stuff, okay? Let's go to the interesting stuff. Where do I begin with the interesting stuff? All right, let's start with Ben Shapiro and versus. There's like a war that is going on. Well, there are like larger players in the war, but like primary players right now that are getting a lot of attention and really creating buzz on Twitter and on the internet is Ben Shapiro, Piers Morgan, and Megyn Kelly. So it's kind of like, on one hand, you have Ben Shapiro, on the other hand, you have Megyn Kelly and Piers Morgan. And Ben Shapiro is single-handedly making these two people cry. We have an old woman, the grandma of groypers, and we have Piers Morgan, the grandpa of stupidity. And Ben Shapiro, a younger person, is making the two of them look absolutely ridiculous and painfully stupid, and they cannot handle it. It's really glorious to see. And we are going to be looking into that right away. But before we do that, I want to acknowledge somebody who just, put money where my mouth is. And you know that I love to see people like that. King of Current, thank you so much. Say, I will pay to watch you react to Tucker for hours. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I appreciate it 1,000%. All right, guys. Please, we are 43 right now. 43 of us, smash the like button. Destroy that like button. Okay? Due to that like button, what the jihadis have been doing to America, but be more effective, okay? Smash the like button. Subscribe if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, and you can always put your money where my mouth is by going to buymeacoffee.com/NIG perspective. Buymeacoffee.com/NIG perspective. Okay, go there and buy me coffees, and I'll use it to drink water. Okay. Now let's get into this beef, this right-wing beef. So first of all, we already know that we already in previous live streams talked about the. In previous live streams, we talked about the dispute between, or the back and forth between Piers Morgan and Ben Shapiro and how it all started. Okay, just so people know, what started all of this was that Ben Shapiro refused to reply the text message of Piers Morgan, refused to return his calls, and refused to appear on his show. That is all. That is, if you want to know what started all of this, how it all began was that Piers Morgan was butthurt over the fact that Ben Shapiro will not appear on his show anymore that Ben Shapiro will not reply his text messages, and that Ben Shapiro will not return his calls. And that made Piers Morgan very, very, very angry. Okay? He went on to say a couple of things about it, and then Ben Shapiro responded by saying that, you know, the reason why he doesn't want to be on Piers Morgan's show is because he believes that the show is basically pointless and just a parody of political commentary, and thinks it is not a useful, it's not a net positive in this environment that we find ourselves in, and does not contribute positively, right? And he thinks it's not a good thing. It doesn't help to go on Piers Morgan's show and, you know, help promote a platform that he doesn't agree with what they are doing, essentially. That was kind of like his view on the whole thing, which, yes, you might say, okay, this person is criticizing my show and all whatnot, and I don't like the criticism that this person is giving of my show. And then a good way to respond is to just say, okay, you know what, I don't think these criticisms are valid. But first of all, I already kind of find it ridiculous that Piers Morgan is just crying and wailing and whining like a baby simply because somebody will not appear on his show, as if Ben Shapiro owes it to him. Like, Ben Shapiro has to appear on his show. It's like a moral obligation that Ben Shapiro has. And because Ben Shapiro will not appear on his show, he's an immoral person for not appearing on his show. This is immorality on display. This is journalistic immorality. Right? When at the end of the day, it's a free choice. Okay, part of free speech is deciding that you are going to appear on someone's show and not appear on someone's show. You have the right to speak, and you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to speak on a particular platform, and you have the right to deny invitation to a particular platform. Now, Piers Morgan's response was to say, oh, this does not reflect the principle of free speech that Ben always talk about. Like, if Ben is really a champion of free speech and an advocate for free speech, he should be open to go on any platform. So what free speech, being an advocate of free speech, means that whatever platform calls you, you must attend. You must not say no. You must not decline. You must go on every platform. You must go on every platform that exists on the planet. As long as they extend an invitation to you, you must attend and, you know, have an interview with them and do a sit down with them and do whatever they ask you to do for them, because you are an advocate of free speech. That is kind of Pierce's position and Pierce's response. And then he ended the whole thing by saying that he is a journalist and Ben Shapiro is a propagandist, which is kind of interesting for a guy who will have any propagandist on. Any propagandist he can find on the streets that just, you know, experience 5 seconds of fame. Piers Morgan is going to platform that person, right? So that is kind of like, you know, the background to all of this. And so Ben Shapiro is responding. Also, before we go to Ben Shapiro's response, Megyn Kelly decided to lend her voice in support of her boyfriend, Piers Morgan, or her sugar daddy, Piers Morgan. And this is what she had to say.
It's very sad to me, as somebody who's known Ben forever and helped make Ben 100%.
Yes. Ben will not be what he is today if not for Megyn Kelly, of course. If not for Megyn Kelly, where will Ben Shapiro be? Nowhere. He will be nowhere. The maker of Ben Shapiro is Megyn Kelly. Fantastic stuff.
He became a star on my show, The Kelly File. I'm very sorry to see this happen. And
you're really sorry to see what has happened to, my goodness, if there's somebody who is sad to see where that person has gotten to, it is you. But of course, you've always been like that. You've always pursued the current thing. You've always been spineless. One of the things that I find fascinating in today's alternate media landscape is how the so-called brave people are really cowards. Like these people who claim to be brave, who are like social, culture warriors, right? People who are standing for conservative values or whatever values they claim to be fighting for. Turns out that many of them are really, really big, fat cowards, or slim ones, in the case of Megyn Kelly, whose thin arms are just kind of distracting. But
there is absolutely no cause to go run around policing the guests on somebody else's show.
Which Ben Shapiro did not do. This is, again, the only way they can attack Ben Shapiro is by creating straw men and attacking things that Ben Shapiro did not do. Ben Shapiro did not police Piers Morgan's guest and say Piers Morgan should not have his guest or this guest or that guest, or, Piers Morgan is an evil person for having so and so guest. It is not policing that person. If someone has a guest on their show, and I think that is ridiculous for them to have that guest on their show, I will not say they are policing that person. It's just my opinion. When Charlie Kirk was alive, he criticized Dinesh D'Souza for having a debate with Nick Fuentes. And he sent him a private message expressing his displeasure and thinking that this is going to amplify the voice of despicable people like Nick Fuentes. That was Charlie's text to Dinesh D'Souza. But that was not Charlie policing him. That was not policing him. That was Charlie expressing his opinion. It's an opinion. He had that opinion. He has every right to have the opinion, and he has every right to express that opinion. That is what free speech is about. Somebody has someone on their show. I think it is a bad idea to have this person on your show and to run your show the way you run your show. And I express that opinion, and all of a sudden I am policing you. That is ridiculous. He's not policing anybody. He's just airing his opinion. That is what it is.
And trying to diminish somebody who is as interesting, and I mean this complimentary, benign as Piers Morgan.
Piers Morgan is not interested. Okay, please. Piers Morgan is as boring as a dry wall. The only thing that makes Piers Morgan interesting, or his show interesting, is the riffraffs and the it's not only riffraffs that he allows. Or let me not insult people like Jordan Peterson and Douglas Murray, right? There are people that are sensible that he has on his show, but for the most part, he brings ridiculous people and organize shouting matches. That is what he does. That is not interesting. That does not make him interesting. Okay? That does not make him interesting.
Piers is not a pernicious force. Piers is an interesting guy who's got.
And nobody said he is a pernicious force. The way he runs his show is a parody of what political commentary is supposed to look like. That is the complaint.
Got an interesting show. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not. It's up to you. I think he's really interesting, and I think his interviews are great.
And I think his interviews are not. Opinion. Megyn Kelly, you see? Opinion. That is called what? Having an opinion. You think his interviews are great? I think his interviews are disgusting. Opinion. Do you get it now? You see, you have the right to say Piers Morgan's interviews are great, they are fantastic, they are the best. And I have every right to say his interviews are trash, they are ridiculous. That is what we call airing your opinion. You guys on this side of things, on this side of the conflict, have become like Lizzo. You guys are now like Lizzo. Remember when Lizzo would put out stuff, or all those fat liberation people who put themselves out there, and all they are looking for is for people to applaud them. And anybody who does not applaud them is fatphobic. Anybody who says, no, you look hideous and disgusting, you are fatphobic. It's the same thing you guys do now on the podcast space. Anybody who has an issue with how you run your show or how you interview your guests, any person who has an issue and dares to voice that out, that person is policing you. That person is trying to silence you. That person is a cancel culture vulture. Like the only response that you would take is applause. And go girl, get them. You are doing the right thing. You are a force to reckon with. Anything that is not praise, anything that is not praise and recommendation is cancel culture.
But now we have to get rid of Piers Morgan. So obviously, in Ben's view, Tucker had to go. Clearly, even though he helped build Candace, she had to go. Then I had to go, even though I've had.
Nobody is saying any of you have to go or had to go. Anyways.
Had a 15-year friendship.
I don't know if I think Megyn Kelly's problem is I don't think it's her inability, because she has the ability to understand. It's a refusal, an adamant refusal to have understanding. It's like I intentionally will lack understanding because I'm rejecting understanding right now. I know it is easy for me to understand what is going on, but I refuse to understand it for whatever reason. Like, all the things you are saying is not what Ben Shapiro is saying.
with a guy.
Nobody's saying anybody has to go.
Publicly attacked me. Same thing. Not even a text in advance. Even though we had a text like literally 4 months or 4 weeks earlier saying, no matter who we're friends with, because he was mad I was friends with Tucker, our friendship means more to us than anything. And we won't do anything to F it up. Next thing I know, I get attacked by him on.
No. That you are friends, and so what? So because you guys are friends, you are going to promote and platform, and try to legitimate, what's the word I'm looking for? You're going to promote, platform, and try to normalize somebody who is spreading lies. And you're going to sit there as the person lies, and then you're going to nod your head. You're going to call lies valid criticisms. That is the one that I find really shocking coming from Megyn Kelly, is that what she calls criticism is just somebody lying. Yet, when somebody says something about her as by way of criticism, she cannot take it. So it is okay if people spread lies in the name of criticizing Israel. Right? They spread dangerous, disgusting lies. It is okay for them to do that. But if somebody criticizes you, valid criticism is not okay. Criticizing Israel, great. Criticizing Megyn Kelly, bad. Criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitism, but criticizing Megyn Kelly is cancel culture. All right.
Stage a turning point. Now Piers Morgan, like how many people have to go? Truly, how many people must be culled from the conservative movement in order to make Ben?
Wait, Piers Morgan was a conservative? Piers Morgan is part of the conservative movement? Piers Morgan? All right.
Happy. This is ridiculous. And it's not just Ben. All right, there are others who take his lead once he calls you an anti-Semite or says you need to be kicked out of, polite society. There are a couple of...
You know the funny thing? Ben has not called Tucker Carlson, as far as I know, Ben has not called Tucker Carlson an anti-Semite. He has called him a liar, which he is, and a coward, which he is, but an anti-Semite he has not called him.
Others, not a huge amount, I have to say. Ben's numbers are very bad right now. But
again, the numbers. Oh, it's all about numbers. Don't worry, Megyn Kelly. I want to announce to you that many of your numbers are now Bangladeshis who are now enjoying your show. Congratulations. Congratulations. Fourth generation of cousin marriage now find what you do interesting. Congratulations. I'm happy for your new audience. For the new audience that you are attracting. You are doing a fantastic job. You're doing a bang-up job. Congratulations.
He's got some influence with some crew. This is so wrong. So good for Piers Morgan for fighting back. I'm completely on Team Piers.
You're completely on Team Stupid. You see, oh my goodness. You see a grown man that cannot deal with the fact that somebody does not want to pick his call and somebody does not want to reply his text. He cannot deal with that fact that you're like, yeah, I'm on that team. Sign me up, coach. Very ridiculous human being. Let's see some of the comments. Somebody said, hey, come on, he's a young father. Ben didn't say Piers had to go. Ben said that he didn't have to appear on his show. Standards, those damn things. And you are condemning him for having them. And you condemning him for having them only highlights that you severely lack them. Of course. Also, just so I understand you, Ben criticizing you is an attack. But Candice viciously attacking Erica day in and day out is asking questions. Got it. Do you see the double standards? Let me read this again because I think it kind of points out a lot of things that need to be, points out a lot of things that we need to take note of from this nonsense that we just watched. He said, Ben didn't say Piers had to go. Ben said he didn't have to appear on his show. Standards, those done things. And you condemning him for having them only highlights that you severely lack them. Also, just so I understand you, Ben criticizing you is an attack. But Candice viciously attacking Erica Cook day in and day out is asking questions. Got it? And of course, there are other people who are pointing out that she's a coward and all whatnot. And showing her the recent update from Candace Owens. Right? And so this is Ben's response to all of this. Ben said
Josh says, quote, "Dear Ben, I've been watching a lot of your adversarial interviews lately, and I've noticed that once they run out of arguments, they always fall back on the Israel issue." Yeah, I noticed that too. I noticed this especially in Megyn Kelly's defense of Tucker Carlson, where she claimed that your issue with him and recently her all boiled down to Israel, which I believe is an incorrect characterization. They just find it convenient to blame Israel instead of facing the actual points you are making. My question is, how do you deal with people like this? People that anytime you disagree with them, just say the reason you disagree with them is because of Israel. I like the way Matt Walsh said it, people that are Israel first but from the opposite direction, meaning the first thing they care about is being anti-Israel. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So yes, they're lying. Megyn is lying and so is Tucker. I mean, period. They're just lying. Okay.
That is the first criticism to point out about Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens. It's not even the hatred. It's that first of all, these people are liars. And what they do on their show is pure lies and distort facts and distort people's statement and distort people's argument and intentionally misunderstand people and concoct a ridiculous understanding or representation of the things that they have said or have argued for.
I started originally criticizing Tucker Carlson for his economic programs back in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the more modern post-Fox iteration of Tucker, I started criticizing Tucker over his going to Russia to sniff the bread and kiss Vladimir Putin's ass. My generalized critique of Tucker in the last few months has been, one, he hosted and glossed a Nazi, Nick Fuentes, which doesn't have to do with Israel. It has to do with glazing a Nazi, Nick Fuentes. And then I did a speech at Heritage in which I went through the fact that Tucker Carlson is in no way, shape, or form a traditional conservative.
Yes.
That he's a conspiratorial near-anarchist at this point.
That is criticism. He did not say, kick him. Like, these people sometimes pretend like they didn't witness the whole cancel culture movement when it happened, when it was in its heydays, and how somebody who has a job will lose that job. Somebody who has a Twitter account will lose their Twitter account. Somebody who is on YouTube will lose their YouTube channel due to efforts to cancel them. Like they act like they don't know how that went down and how that happened. All of a sudden, it's like you criticize me is the same thing as you calling for my YouTube channel to be taken away from me, calling for my Twitter to be blocked or something. Somehow, criticizing somebody and calling for that person to be kicked off social media is the same thing. You know.
Seeking to tear down the fundamental ideas and institutions of the United States. Go watch the Heritage speech. I believe Israel is mentioned once in a 35-minute speech that is all about Tucker's general view of the world and how it does not represent traditional conservatism in any way. Megyn is even more dishonest. I've literally never, not once, mentioned Megyn Kelly, never, in the context of Israel.
And that is true. That is 100% true. But because Megyn cannot respond to Ben and respond to the criticism that he's levying against her, because she knows that those criticisms are valid, because she cannot respond to them, she creates a straw man.
Ever. My critique of Megyn Kelly began when, and again, go back and watch the tape because it's all on tape, gang. Go back and watch the tape. Megyn wanted me to come and do one of her live events, which we did for free, obviously. It came down as a favor to Megyn because Megyn and I were friendly. And of course, we'd had a long-standing business relationship in which we had really, really helped her launch her business, which she freely admitted at the time. I don't know if she does anymore. She used to have me on her Fox News show sometimes. Now I see she's taking credit for my entire career. Well, congrats, Megyn, I suppose. And see if you're happy about your decisions. I disagree about my career trajectory, but that's fine. If you want to take credit, sure. In any case, my critique of Megyn on the stage was, why don't you call out Candace Owens for implicating Erica Kirk in the murder of Charlie Kirk? That was my critique on the stage. And why don't you call out Tucker Carlson for glazing Nick Fuentes, the leading enemy of Charlie Kirk? Because Nick Fuentes despised Charlie Kirk, and the feeling was mutual.
And still does.
That was my critique.
Still does, till this day. Even in his death, Nick Fuentes still hates the legacy of Charlie Kirk. Hates it.
And then she went on to claim that I was lying about Candace and that actually Candace was even, quote unquote, defending in her own way Erica Kirk. Well, that didn't age amazing, as it turns out. And then at TPUSA, I called out Candace and Tucker for refusing to call out Candace Owens for what she had been doing to Erica Kirk, for refusing to tell the truth on issues and instead programming toward the clicks, for their unique cowardice in making conspiratorial claims without evidence about, say, Jeffrey Epstein and President Trump. I did not mention Israel one time in the TPUSA speech. 0 is the number of times I mentioned Israel. So here's what's actually happening. What's actually happening is that there is a game that has now emerged on this part of the right. The game goes something like this. I don't accuse you of anti-Semitism. You instead claim that I did. And then you say, how dare he call me an anti-Semite?
Even though he did not call you an anti-Semite. Of course, that is what they do. Nobody accuses you of something, but you're going to make up the claim that they did, and then you are going to say, how dare they say this about me? When they did not even say that. Nobody is trying to silence you. But you say, oh, they are trying to silence me. How dare they silence me? Oh, they are trying to kick me out of the conservative movement. How dare they kick me out? Like, Ben Shapiro is going to kick you out of the movement? Really?
He's trying to cancel me. It's the Jussie Smollett of political claims.
Yes.
You attack yourself, and then you claim that I attacked you as an anti-Semite. That's absurd.
Of course.
I think that Tucker Carlson has fostered anti-Semitism by having on some of the worst anti-Semites in America over and over and over, and then essentially laundering their views. I have never remotely called Megyn Kelly an anti-Semite, nor, by the way, did I call Piers Morgan an anti-Semite. I said that his show is the Jerry Springer of politics, a clown car of stupidity, and it is.
Exactly. That is the same thing about Piers Morgan and his... that one is just a grown man who does not know how to act his age.
That's all.
An old man, not grown man. If I say grown man, you think it's somebody in his 30s. That man is in his 60s and acts like a child. Acts like he's 12.
That's literally all. I didn't say that he should be taken down. I didn't say that people should stop watching his show if they want to. I said I did not wish to appear in the clown car of stupidity, which seems to me an aspect of free speech. I don't have to associate with Piers' dumb show. I mean, lots of people like it. Good for him. And Piers measures his morality by clicks, and so I assume he sleeps fine at night. That's fine. That's his prerogative. It's a free country. But let's be real. The tactic that is currently being used by all of these figures is a preemptive claim that people are calling you anti-Semitic, and then they say, and I'm not anti-Semitic. Really, they're just mad at me because of Israel. So it's a two-step, none of which is true. I didn't call Megyn anti-Semitic. I didn't call Piers anti-Semitic. I didn't even critique Megyn on her Israel position. In fact, Megyn and I have had many conversations off the air about Israel and the situation in the Middle East, in which I have said to her that I think that many of her critics over her policies on Israel up till now were wrong and misguided. In fact, I said that on her own show. But again, honesty is not a top priority for many of these people.
True.
The grift is the priority. The clicks are the priority.
Yes.
I stand by every single word I said at that TPUSA speech. There are an enormous group of people in the commentariat, an enormous number of people in this space whose chief desire is for fame and clicks. That is what they care about. And so their principles morph over time. Now, listen, I don't think Piers' principles ever morphed. I don't think Piers had any principles. I think his principle was always clicks. I think that for Megyn, maybe she had principles at one point. I'm not sure anymore. Because again, this would all stop very easily if, for example, Megyn Kelly had the stones to actually just condemn Candace Owens for what she's been doing. That's been my critique for months. And she still hasn't done it. She said she would die before she did it. That's her principle. Okay. All right. And again, as for Piers, I'm still bewildered as to why Piers is so pissed off. Seriously.
Yes.
Stop being a pissy little bitch. Seriously. It's really kind of ridiculous.
It's kind of pathetic. Not just ridiculous. It's pathetic. Like, you're an old man. You're 60-something. Shouldn't you have children and grandchildren that you be like, apart from the show, you worry about those? But it seems like after the show, once the show is over, the next thing you worry about is Ben Shapiro. Like, he's at this point, it looks like that thing. What is that word, that phrase that Andrew Tate used? It's beginning to look like a homosexual rage. At this point, are you into Ben? Do you want him to date you? What is all this?
I said that I don't want to go on your show. Oh, wah, I'm sorry. I said that I think your show's Jerry Springer. That you fill up the screen with a 6-box of people, none of whom you would want to talk to in a cafe. And then you have them argue with each other and yell at each other and scream. You have Cenk Uygur with his head blowing up like a red balloon on the air. Next to Norman Finkelstein. Next to whatever kook you found on a street corner. Next to maybe one legitimate person. And then you're like, this is a solid debate. Okay, you want to do that? That's your choice, my dude. You can. But I don't understand why it's not my choice to say I don't wish to participate in your dumb show. And why that somehow represents censorship. That is not censorship. You don't have to come on my show. I don't have to come on your show. Nobody has to go on anybody's show. And I'm not saying that people can't watch your show or that you should be deplatformed.
He has not called for the deplatforming of Piers Morgan. That is the point I've been making all through. He has not done that. All he has said is, I'm not going to come on your show. That is all he said.
Expansion of censorship to include, I'm not allowed to somehow criticize Megyn Kelly for her cowardice, and she's a coward. Or that I'm not allowed to criticize Piers Morgan for being a click whore, and yes, he's a click whore. Or that I'm not allowed to criticize Tucker Carlson for being a nut, because he's being a nut. And that somehow these critiques amount to a campaign of cancellation or censorship. That's weird to me. One final note here. I saw that.
Very stupid. It's not just weird, but it's stupid. Any person who says that, that's why I believe that, not just believe, that's why I say, and it's a fact, right, that Megyn Kelly and Piers Morgan are two pair of stupid people. Not two pair, one pair. Sorry. Two of them are a pair of stupid people. A lovely pair of very stupid people. And it's not just that they are stupid unintentionally. They know what they are doing. It's an intentional stupidity.
That Megyn yesterday suggested that I'm in a mood to just throw people out of the conservative movement. People like Piers. Piers Morgan was never a conservative.
Exactly. I just said it like Piers Morgan, a conservative. When? When did Piers become a conservative? I just said that. Like, when was Piers ever a conservative? When?
What the hell are you talking about? My entire point at the Heritage Foundation speech that I did last December, and again, go back and listen to it, was any movement must have ideological borders.
Mm-hmm.
If people reflect views that are not inside those borders, they are not in the movement. And they certainly are not leaders of the movement. They can be fellow travelers. They can vote however they want. It's a free country. But the fact that Megyn is considering Piers, quote unquote, part of the conservative movement is astonishing to me, because Piers holds almost zero seriously conservative positions. But, you know, I guess that they've locked arms because it's all about the clicks, baby.
Beautiful response. And of course, this is going to throw all of them into a very huge tantrum. Oh, they will not stop now. Now they are going to talk more. Now they are going to talk more. Here is Megyn Kelly. Here is Megyn Kelly. Poor little Ben, and I do mean little, desperate for me to protect him. Can you imagine being this emasculated? Sad. What is all this? What is all this? And then somebody said, oh, come on now. He completely cooked you. Piers too. You are both so dishonest. We all think you are morally bankrupt for not calling out Candace Owens for the harm she's causing the widow. For the harm she's causing the widow of your supposed friend. It's shockingly cowardly to say nothing. He was right to call you out. But ever since then, you've been misrepresenting what he's saying. Because you know you've made a terrible miscalculation here. You rush to defend this young mom who's turned out to be maliciously evil to her bones. But you are too prideful to own up to it. Charlie would be heartbroken by your lack of integrity. You left his widow to a deranged demonic hyena. Don't attack Ben. He's standing on principle. He can go to sleep knowing that he didn't lose the most important fight, to choose to be good and speak truth. How about you? Can you do the same? You should look at yourself in the mirror and question why you have chosen to go down this strange path. I don't think that's something that she's ever going to do. Self-awareness is not something that people are supposed to have or are meant to have. You know you are losing when you start attacking someone's height. Of course, that's all she have now. Little Ben, oh, poor little Ben wants me to protect him. And he did not ask for your protection. That is the funny part. He did not ask for your protection. Woe betide anybody who you are protector of. Because that person is going to be open to all kinds of evil. Just look at the bang-up job you are doing with Erica Cook, who you cannot even defend against a vicious woman, a vicious, scornful woman. This person said, let's get you back to bed, Grandma Groiper. And this is from Roseanne Barr. The devil be gone, or demon be gone. Yep. And Ben Shapiro responded. He said, don't worry, Megan. I'll never ask you to protect me. You won't even protect Charlie Kirk's widow from the monster accusing her of murdering Charlie. And then Ami Kozak said, Ben, she walks behind the scenes. Of course. Of course. And here's from Megyn Kelly, and this is what she has to say. Of course, one long essay. This is what she has to say. You think protecting Erica means calling out Candace. I think if you don't wish to call attention to a negative attack, don't call attention to it. Does that work for you, Ben? May I have your approval now? No, I don't think so. So, wait, and this is one of the nonsense that I've seen from not just Megyn Kelly, but from also cowards. And I say it, yes, I know Ben will not call this person a coward, but I'm calling this person a coward. Cowards like Megyn Kelly and cowards like Michael Knowles, because they have come up with this crazy nonsense where, we're not talking about Candace Owens, we're not paying negativity attention because we believe that if you ignore negativity, it will go away. You know, if you ignore all the negativity that is going on out there and don't feed into it, it will all go away. You know, one thing I want to advise the likes of Megyn Kelly and Michael Knowles, how about you do that with the left? With the left that you claim to be that you claim are your enemy, the enemy of your country. They are spreading negativity, of course, aren't they? Yes, they are. They are spreading negativity, spreading hate, spreading ideologies that will destroy your country. And all of that are negative with negative effect. How about you adopt the strategy, the textbook strategy, the tested and proven strategy of just ignoring it. Ignore it and it will go away as well. Or you will not ignore the left. You will not ignore the negativity coming from the left. But when it is coming from the right? When it is coming from the right, the best tactics or the best strategy, the best tactic and the best strategy is to ignore it. To become an ostrich, you bury your head in the sand and somehow all of it will go away. Yeah, of course. And then she continues, because you and your little cohorts of sick followers, yes, sure. Ben's followers are sick followers, aren't mad about anything involving me and Erica, who you barely know. Trust me, I've checked. You turned on me when I wouldn't defriend Tucker, whose criticism of Israel you can't stand. And when I defended Candace's questions about whether Charlie, before he was killed, was growing more skeptical of Israel, he was. You are right that at Erica's request, I tried to help her and Candace get to an okay place, an effort that failed, and which now you mock. But Christians like me, shut up. Shut up! Christians like Onye, that's the thing. If you want to be a despicable person, if you want to do the nonsense you are doing, just do the nonsense you are doing and keep doing it. But now you want to invoke the name of Christ. You understand? You know, it is more effective to be a stupid person if you involve God. Christians like you are pretty big on forgiveness and reconciliation. Yes, you are big on forgiveness and reconciliation. When the person you are reconciling doesn't want reconciliation, what does the Bible say about reconciliation when it has to do with someone like Candace Owens? Let me tell you. Jesus said, my battery is kind of low, so I have to end this live stream pretty soon. My camera battery, which I didn't see coming anyway. Anyways, but let me see where I can wrap this up. I was thinking I will go to the Piers Morgan side, or maybe I will not, but let me just wrap this up. Jesus said, right, that if you have an issue with your brother, if your brother offends you, then go and meet him. Go and meet him and have talk with him. If he will not listen to you, get someone else and go and meet with him. If that did not work and he will not listen to you, bring the entire church. And if after he listened to the entire church, he will not like that is still not resolved, this your brother who has offended you, choose not to resolve the issue, then you should consider that your brother as an unbeliever. All your so-called private reconciliation processes has resulted in nothing. Candace Owens has become more vicious. In fact, it has produced the opposite effect, and drastic opposite effect. And you're talking about forgiveness and reconciliation when you should be treating this person as an unbeliever. Because she is. And then you are going to invoke Christ. I say it again. You people are political Christians. God, you don't know. Christ, you don't know. You guys are like the 7 sons of Sceva, always invoking the name of Christ. And the demons you are talking to are like, Paul, I know. Christ, I know. But who are you? And then she said, I tried to help you and talk I get there too, remember? More to my cowardice, I guess. Yeah. You always find people who are irredeemable. Not like they are irredeemable, but people who... The difference between Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson is not based on like ideological difference. It's not like, oh, we have different ideologies. It's that one is telling the truth and the other is engaged in a business of spewing lies. One final point. You handled your anger towards me in the most despicable way possible. Did you call me, text me? Oh, please. Okay, I think we are done reading this. Okay, fine. Let me see what some people have to say. Once people start doing this, you should have called me, text me. You should have come to my house, lick my feet. Then we'll know that you did all you had to do in private before you went public. I always bring this example. I know these people, like I said, these people have never cracked open a Bible before in their lives, right? Go and read your Bible. Paul himself telling a story about how Peter was acting like a hypocrite in Antioch. Paul said, I rebuked him in the presence of everybody. That was what Paul said. When Peter was acting like a hypocrite at Antioch, I rebuked him in the presence of everybody. Do you know why Paul did that in the presence of everybody? Because he knows that everyone needs to know that this is wrong. Is Paul and Peter, are they not on the same team? Are they not fellow apostles? Are they not all brothers in Christ? You want to invoke the name of Christ. You know nothing about Christ. You know nothing. Take note of these people who the only way they allude to their Christianity is to say Christ. As a Christian, as a believer in Christ, as somebody who loves God. Yet they will not tell you one thing from God's word and one thing from the scripture that justifies the nonsense that they are doing, because there is none. And they know it. Or maybe they don't because they don't know the scripture. Jesus said to the Sadducees, you err because you don't know the scriptures. Maybe that's the case with Megyn Kelly. She errs because she does not know the scriptures. Ridvan said, so you still won't call out Candace for publicly attacking and slandering Erica Koch in the most vile way imaginable. Got it. So this person Candace Owens has become more and more vicious, more and more wicked in her attack. But hey guys, did you know that Megyn Kelly in private is trying to run a reconciliation program between Erica and Candace? There's nothing I find more annoying and more insulting to the name of Christ than people evoke Christianity when they are doing something that is so anti-Christian. And they don't know it's anti-Christian because they have never, like I said before, they have never cracked open a Bible in their life. Anyway, let's run through some of the nonsense that that Piers Morgan has had to say. Let me just give you look at Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan, who they are criticizing for platforming any Tom, Dick, and Harry that has like the minimum level of fame. And how he will bring any small Joe that he finds on the street if the person is getting attention online. Like, that is the criticism against him, right? And look at who he has on his show recently. Just look at the latest guest on the Piers Morgan show. Let this thing load so you guys can see his latest guest. Yeah, look at it. The latest guest is Professor Jiang. He's now Sneeko. His latest guest is Professor. This is not like, look at, he has Professor Jiang on his show. There is no moron that he will not platform. No moron that he will not platform. Even someone in the comment had to point out, so we are doing CCP ops now. He said, I would say you are falling far, Piers, but you are at the bottom of the barrel of the barrel to begin with. Yeah, he has always been at the bottom of the barrel. Always. Always. Here he is. Ben is panicking. Yeah, he's IQ maxing. Yes, he is. He's IQ maxing right now. That's what he's doing. That is exactly what he's doing. He's doing love speech. Okay, this is love speech that he's doing. Love speech, IQ maxing, and truth seeking. Okay, that is what he's up to right now. These people are so annoying. So annoying. Somebody say he's rage bait maxing rather. Rage bait maxing. That's probably what he's up to. He's click maxing. Okay? He's click maxing. Trying to get as much click as possible. He has seen it work for Sneeko. He has seen it work for the people like that. He has seen what bringing anybody can do to you, and now he's doing it. People have no morals, no principle, nothing, standard, none of that do they have. All right. That is one interesting rant. I didn't see myself ranting, but yeah, I am ranting. All right, I'm going to bring this stream to a close. I was hoping that I would go longer than this, but my camera is kind of down. It has it's down. I didn't know I wasn't charging it, so I have to end the stream. I guess my bonus stream will just be me reacting to some of the things that I was hoping to react to within the week, but did not get the chance to. That's what my bonus stream will be. It's not really like a stream, it's more like a video, because it's not be streamed live. It will just be recorded and then I post it. And it will be available for those who are members in Buy Me a Coffee. I think I've demonstrated how to be a member on my Buy Me a Coffee page, right? I think I have demonstrated that. But let me show it again for those who are not present. So this is my Buy Me a Coffee page. As you can see, it's it's buymeacoffee.com/NIGPERSPCICTIVE, right? So when you go to the page, of course, if you want to buy coffee, this is where you go. You click the number of, you can set to buy like 1,000 coffees or 1,200 coffees, right? And then you click support here, right? And but there's another way. You can also, like below, you can become a member. Okay, you join for $5 a month, you become a member. So that is kind of like how it works. When you become a member, I can make posts for members, and then you are going to see those posts. And one of the posts I will make will be with regards to the video. All right. Please go to, if you don't want to miss some of the things that I'll be saying, run and become a Buy Me a Coffee member. Somebody said over 6,000. That was a demo. It wasn't. It wasn't. Before somebody will not understand. I put 1,200 coffees and it shows 6,000. Okay. If I go back to 5, it shows 25. If I go back to 3, it shows 50. If I go back to 1, it shows 5. Okay. So it wasn't. All right. So that is all we have for today. Thank you all for hanging out with me. You guys are the best. I appreciate all of you. And until we meet again on Monday or on Saturday, depending, stay blessed and peace. Peace and love.